And now we move on to the next presentation, Mr. Lochmann.
Thank you, Daniele. And I would not start, Philip. I hope that I will not disappoint you or the colleagues here in the audience, that I will not talk about the Connect Euro Express now, although there have been numerous lessons learned. But if the time allows during the Q&A session, I'll be more than happy to come back to this topic, because indeed there have been a number of issues that it would be good to take into the consideration. But we can go straight to the next slide, because what I really like of this session is the title, which is how to strengthen the rail competitiveness and what should be the role of the ICT in it. I mean, I'm of course not going to read what you can read by yourself, but essentially the situation of railways has changed dramatically since the 19th century, where we had no difficulties with the competitiveness of the railway, because we have been the mode of the transport on the land. So if you wish to travel as a person or carry the goods, you know, the rail was the only choice that you've had. Today's situation, and you know it very well, is dramatically different. And it's different in the sense that we have lost our competitiveness. And all collectively, and that's what I would like to link now, the previous speeches that have been presented by the colleagues from the Commission, from Shift to Rail, from Philip as representing the manufacturing industry, they have set the landscape, what is on the political agenda, what technically we need to do. But it's then us to deliver, and that's what I believe needs to be done. So having a good understanding what's expected from us with regards to what we need to deliver and what are the challenges. And the challenges are clearly, if we want to win the market back, we have to have the guys, the ICT leaders, who will be then helping us developing the solutions that can bring us to the much higher cost efficiency of the railway and much higher performance. Those, not to say dreams, but the expectations that we can double the high-speed volumes by 2030, that we can have 2 times more volumes on a freight or even more by 2050, can only deliver if we will be competitive. And what has been quite natural in the past, and that's why I mentioned in the first bullet point that since the birth of the railways, of course, we had to use the ICT. I mean, information and communication was something without which the railway would not move. Now we need you to help, you know, to make this implementation in a way of the ICT helping us the competitiveness even more by saving the costs. And that's probably what we all have to have in mind. We need to deliver the cheap, performing, cost-efficient technology, which will be highly standardized, which is not going to be customized for each and every railway undertaking or infrastructure manager as we have experienced in the past. It's a huge challenge, because we do not have a homogeneous landscape of the railways in Europe today. We all talk about the single European railway area, but look, in each and every company, each and every region, each and every member state still imposes their own rules. And those rules, of course, go on the cost of the systems. And what you deliver with the good intentions is then somehow twisted and goes somewhere else with a much more expensive result. So for me, those 3 challenges are really essential, and they will not go ahead without your help. We can go to the next slide now. So as I said, that we want, if we want to be cost efficient, we want to be competitive, we really need to produce what has been outlined already when we have been establishing the principles of the 4-survey package under the title of the Single European Railway Area. I have to tell you, I remember it's kind of the anecdote when the 4-survey package has been published, several years back. Then the Transport Commissioner, but that time Violeta Bulc, said, and now we have delivered the Single European Railway Area, and now we have delivered interoperability. I had to tell you, I almost fall down from my chair, because I said that, sorry, but it's a joke. If you have a political or regulatory framework, you are still, miles and miles from the final result. And the situation today is still demonstrating we do not have the Single European Railway Area. We are simply not there, and we are not there because we are not having the harmonized solutions that would be systematically deployed. Of course, it would be much easier to deploy than a greenfield, but we have to we have to overcome the situations of the national system and really go for the harmonized solution. So harmonized solutions have to be used, harmonized solutions have to be found and of course then implemented. And not surprisingly, I had to go back to what has been presented, and that's why I don't need to repeat it, by the previous speakers about the role of the Europe's joint undertaking and the role of the European Union Agency for Railways. And we have to work with them in a good connection, because if we want to develop something jointly, so the supply industry with the operators, and if we want to have it somehow embedded in the regulation, those institutions, so the joint undertaking and the agency, the so-called ERA, has to work in a close collaboration, which is somehow set in the principles of the regulation that has been put forward, but we all collectively have to help them and really accelerate what needs to be done and then put through the TSIs. But of course not only, because TSI is on an interoperable framework. It doesn't deliver everything. So let's go to the next slide, because what has been mentioned of the ARGU is perfectly correct. I mean, Judith said so, Vavka said so, Leonardo, Philippe, everyone talks about that. I mean, quite logically, because this is really a flagship for all what we need to do in the future development of the railway. Working collectively in a close collaboration, and this is what has not been pronounced, so I would say, or highlighted. We have to play a role in the multimodal transport, and from all the angles, not only from the angle of the multimodal ticketing, as you could have seen in one of the previous presentations, but in an entirety. If we want to be more competitive, we will never be competitive just the sole mode of the transport. We have to be competitive in a multimodal transportation chain. And it goes again back to you. If you would have to help us, you know, any of the technology developed in the ICT bubble needs to be done in a way that it will not be rail specific, but it will be something which will be multimodal, enabling us an integration, enabling also the customers to benefit from the efficient solutions across the entire transportation chain in which the rail plays the role. And I have to tell you, although it sounds logical, it's not the case today. We really have customized solutions for the railway. We have even the so-called, I mean, you know it probably perfectly, the TAP and TAF TSI setting the specificities for the rail interoperability requirements. But where is the connection with the other modes? I mean, it's nowhere. It's nowhere even in the European Commission or the European legislation, because there is something for the IT systems, but it's mostly for the road. And again, this interface, the link with the rail is only developing now. So please help us also to understand better what we need to deliver in the multimodal context. I only have two last slides, but they are essential. Because, and again that we mentioned, so it doesn't come as a surprise. But if we talk about the competitiveness, we have two big issues. First, we are not competitive as a rail freight. We are losing dramatically. I mean, if you follow the statistics, it's so stabilized in the recent years, but we have now the problem of the changing of the volumes with regards to the bulk cargo. Because the coal is less and less transported, petrol will be less and less transported, we'll be losing the market, we have to switch to intermodal. So there is a lot of challenge that we have to cope with, and one of the solutions is this digital automatic coupler. You have automatic coupler more or less around the globe, but none of them is connecting the data. And this is again, you know, the challenge for all of us here. We don't wish to have a solution like we have is the, sorry to call it the bloody ERTMS, that we don't have harmonized ERTMS. If we go for the digital automatic coupler, it must be one harmonized system for the data communication that will help us really to connect to the train of any single wagon that we will have to couple to the train as such. So this is an opportunity, but it is also a risk. If we do not deliver jointly one single harmonized solution, we will again be in a situation that we will be losing the market rather than winning it. So you see the digital applications that are somehow envisaged. None of them is today existent because we do not have this coupler today. But again, without your help, without your support, we will not be able to deliver, and we will fail. And that's a huge risk that it's stayed ahead of us. So it's the digital automatic coupler with no ICT support. No digital automatic coupler is going to exist. And the final slide, regional lines. Where is Severan now? I mean, miss her because she has been mentioning the importance of the regional lines here in the region. I have to tell you, this is a must. If you are not going to do something very quickly with the regional lines within the next 5 years, we will experience massive closure of those lines in the whole Europe, and a really massive one, because if we are having the problems with, or the troubles with the competitivity on the rail freight, what concerns the regional lines, the cost structure of the regional lines and the competitiveness vis-à-vis the road, so the individual car transportation or the buses, is catastrophic. It's catastrophic. So again, there we need to reach the massive reduction of the costs. And those figures that Severan has shown about the 30% of reduction of the capex OPEX, this is perfectly correct. We have to go even lower than that if you want to be competitive vis-à-vis the road. And this is not just, kind of facing the problems with individuals who do take the transport on the roadside. It's also an issue vis-à-vis the competent authorities that are ordering the services from the rails through the so-called public service obligation contracts. They would not be attracted by our services if they can get, 2 buses per 1 train, or even 3 bus services for 1 train service only. They said, why would we do so? We simply, forget about the rail, we go for the bus. So, again, we will only be able to achieve this massive cost reduction if implementing the ICT and IT technologies, completely overhauling the way how we manage the regional systems today. More or less everything wireless, no cables, the automated systems. When you look what we have the regional lines today, it's really running the regional lines of the beginning of the 20th century. And if we don't move them massively, as I said, within the next 5 years, we will have a trouble. And that's why I'm happy that we have this component embedded in the ERJU, that it's understood that we really have to facilitate and accelerate the activities in these the flagship projects for the regional line system, that we need to have a collaboration with all those who are really interested in that, like the colleagues of the Severan here. So without that, we will not win. With you, we can. And that's why the ICT-based services, including the customer services in the multimodal environment, again in the multimodal environment, is really complete must. And I'm really happy that there is an opportunity of having all of you here today at the conference. And now I'm off. that we can enjoy the very same challenge and hope that we will be able to deliver. And that you can take it as even my invitation to what we can jointly do for the regional lines, because we are right now starting building the consortium of those interested in delivering the outcome for the cost-efficient regional lines within the next 5 years. So we are almost most welcome to join our forces. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Libor.